What up, motherfuckers? I just finished watching Raw at this very second. And boy, was it the best Raw of all time or what, motherfucks? You know what I'm saying? Before we get started, I haven't done subscribers. Something happened. I can't check my notifications as well. But we got a few. We got like 4 or 5 subscribers. One of them is Vincente Yante. He's the only one that appeared, it looks like, ever since my last video on Technical Work Rate Productions. Now, that being said, before we get to this Raw, I just want to say a couple of things up in this bitch. You know what I'm saying? First of all, I've decided to try to put people over when I get the chance. You know what I'm saying? So, one of my subscribers, I think he's still subscribed. Maybe he didn't subscribe. Cardi Cartoons, motherfuckers. Cardi Cartoons. You know, I went to his website and I like some of the shit that he's done, man. I'm not gonna lie. So, if you guys are cool, I suggest you go and you subscribe to Cardi Cartoons. So, shout out to Cardi Cartoons. Also, I just want to say this. A couple of haters on my channel, and I'm not talking about Technical Work Rate Productions. I'm done with that, you know. They said on Twitter that they don't want any beef, so I'm cool with it for now. But bunch of people, I mean, who cares? Anyone, right? Anyone can get it, right? We want the smoke, you know what I'm saying? So, but a couple of people have been spewing all this hate, telling me how to do things, what I should do, etc., and treating me like they're my dad or something. You know what I'm saying? Well, I got news for you, pal. All right. I'm the daddy around here. Man. I do whatever the fuck I want to do, however I want to do it. And I just want all of you to know, subscriber or not, and if you're not a subscriber, what are you waiting for, cuck? Subscribe today. But subscriber or not, I want you to know, if you think you're right about something, and it's not hurting anyone, don't apologize, be yourself, do whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? You're the daddy, they're not the daddy. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I need to take a moment here to prepare myself emotionally for what was clearly the greatest Raw of all time. And because it was such a great episode of Monday Night Raw, I'm going to have to talk about some other things because let's be real, nothing fucking happened in this episode of Raw in this bitch. All right? So let's get started. I mean, first of all, let's address the elephant in the room, all right? Coronavirus. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are freaking out. You know, I'm moving in 5 days. I'm moving very close to my current apartment because my landlord wanted to sell the condo, so I gotta move. I'm moving to an apartment building. It's awesome. It's modern. It has a lot of cool things, so I'm excited for that. One of the things that it has is a grocery store connected to the bottom of it, right? So I went to see the grocery store because I haven't really bought food in a while because I'm moving and I don't want to buy food and move it with me. So I figured I'd just move and I'd go downstairs and do some shopping. So I went to check to see because, you know, maybe there's some food shortages, motherfuckers. So there weren't. The grocery store was pretty full. No toilet paper though, so that's gonna be a little weird. I'll have to wipe my ass with my hand or some shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, let's just talk about coronavirus for a bit, right? Now, a lot of people are saying a lot of things about coronavirus, and here's my opinion on it, right? Now, a lot of people make comparisons to the flu and all the other stuff, but that's a ridiculous comparison, right? I think a better comparison would be to other things that take a lot of lives any given year, right? So in America, in the world, I should say, there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people that die nearly every day from something like car accidents, right? But we don't really worry about that. Like, nobody's out there saying, like, oh, don't drive. You know what I'm saying? We're going to drive. We're going to live our lives. Now, with that being said, coronavirus obviously is affecting a lot of things. A lot of people aren't going to tell you these things because, quite frankly, they just aren't that smart. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's why we, the family, the friendship of the haters, we're the smart ones. So the real implications of the coronavirus are just this, right? Like in America, there's about 1 million hospital beds. And at any given time, about half of those, probably more than half of those, are being occupied by people who are sick from other diseases, you know, not coronavirus. So the problem is this. If, for example, the virus spreads to a level where 500,000 people need hospital beds, right? We may be able to kind of work around that, right? But the problem is, if all these beds are being taken up by this disease that's new and we're unprepared for, right? Then there are implications to people who have other diseases, right? So if you get into a car accident, you need to go to the hospital. Shit, they're understaffed, they're undermanned, and they're underserved, right? So there you go. Those are the problems, right? That and the logistics of shipping, commerce in general, right? A lot of things are going to be changing around the next couple of weeks until this panic dies down. Now, as far as the danger to us, the danger, in my opinion, is very low. They have reported like death rates, what they call mortality rates of approximately 3%. But they've done this in a very incorrect way. What they've done is if they've taken the number of deaths and divided it by the number of infected, including the deaths, which is a heuristic, but it's not a very good one, because the fact is what it is, right? There are people out there, probably thousands, if not tens of thousands, maybe around the world, hundreds of thousands of people that have coronavirus and don't know it yet, right? They are asymptomatic, and this might be for a variety of reasons. Maybe hasn't progressed enough in their system, or perhaps a lot of them are young, healthy people in their late teens, early 20s, all the way up to like mid 30s, early 40s, I would say, that their immunities are so powerful that they will just get through this virus without even knowing they had it, right? Their immunities will kill the virus, and they won't know, but they'll be carrying it, right? So with that in mind, the number of infected is significantly higher than the number that we know of, right? Therefore, it's not 3%, it's substantially lower, right? Because it's 3% of the people that we know. So there are a lot of people out there, so there's really nothing to worry about. But with that being said, the hater urges all of you to wash your ass, motherfuckers. Wash your ass, take care of yourself, normal hygiene, you know what I mean? That's what's important here. I don't think there's anything to worry about in terms of like dying from it or anything like that, but I would be careful hanging around old people, things like that. You don't want to get them sick in case you have it. That's basically it, you know what I mean? But in order to keep the virus at bay, right? And a lot of people are kind of underplaying it. They're downplaying it, right? The fact of the matter is that in the last few months, 6,000 people or so have died from something that didn't exist a few months ago, right? So while the numerator, motherfucks, in this equation is very, very low, right? In this fraction, I should say, is very, very low. The fact is people are getting sick, people are dying, and people are scared, right? Now, the implications for us as wrestling fans are, of course, primarily the fact that WrestleMania is going to be canceled. Let's be real, motherfucks. They're not having WrestleMania at the Performance Center. I'll get to that during this review, but it's going to get canceled, right? And that kind of sucks for us because, you know, we like WrestleMania, I'm sure. We look forward to it, etc., etc. Now, as I said earlier, coronavirus, you know, it's a threat, but it ain't as big of a deal as people are making it seem, you know. Some of my friends are like, oh, millions of people are going to die. No, they're not, motherfucks. It already peaked in Wuhan and in South Korea, right? Which means that for a long time in Wuhan, where it originated, right, which is obviously the worst place to get it because they're the ones that started it. So, like, they didn't even know what the fuck was going on. They're like, oh, shit, people are sick. We don't know what it is until they figured out what it was. You know what I mean? So that's hopefully the worst place it's going to hit. You know what I mean? Other places, even Japan, it's peaked there too, right? And what I mean by peak is that progressively and exponentially, because it's something like every person will affect like 2 or 3 people, I think it is, right? So it doesn't grow like, algebraically, numerically, geometrically. It doesn't grow geometrically, it grows exponentially. So the facts are what they are, but basically, as a result of that, it grew in Wuhan very, very rapidly, right? So it's like one day there was like 10 cases. The next day there were 100 cases, then 1,000, right? Then 100,000. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously I'm speeding things up a little bit, right? But then eventually it started going down, right? Because they contained it. But they didn't just contain it because the disease died or something like that, right? They took preventative measures, right? In the last few months, which is what we're going to have to do in the United States and elsewhere. There's no way around it, right? You know, so WrestleMania has to be canceled. Now, I'm thinking to myself, if I were a fan, I would risk it. But I'm a young guy, you know, I'd go and be like, if I get sick, I get sick. I won't see, like, my parents aren't even in the country, so I won't see them. I don't know that many old people, so, like, my parents aren't even that old. So it's like, you know, I wouldn't see them, and for a while until everything's done, and they would be good. But the facts are what they actually, I don't know if I would sacrifice seeing my parents if they were here for WrestleMania. But anyways, the point stands, right? So there you have it. Now, as a result of this, a lot of shows in whatever Tampa, wherever the fuck they were gonna have WrestleMania, you know, those shows that like kind of piggyback off of WrestleMania, clout chase. Some might say they clout chase WrestleMania, motherfuckers. They haven't paid their dues. So, anyways, these shows they canceled, you know, preemptively, right? They anticipated that WrestleMania would cancel, so they canceled it too. It's like, obviously, if WrestleMania cancels, no one's gonna go and watch like WSX or whatever the fuck that bullshit is, right? So, and other companies like WWE are now having their. It'd be interesting to see what AEW does, but now they're having their shows in empty arenas. You know, now obviously we all know intuitively, right, that the arena element, right, the if you will, the crowd element of wrestling is what really makes wrestling, right? Hold on, I gotta pause this video real quick so I can turn off my heat. It's hot as a bitch up in this motherfucker. But maybe you guys can hear me as I walk around and turn off my heat. I'm talking louder as I walk around up in this bitch. But anyways, he is off now. So anyways, the point is that now WWE has to have their shows in empty arenas. Now this might be appropriate for something like NXT. You know, it might give off a different vibe, but it's not appropriate for Raw or SmackDown, and it sure as shit is not appropriate for WrestleMania. For a number of reasons, you know. Primarily, despite the fact that they're now doing the show in an empty arena, WWE did not really construct the show so it would be palpable in an empty arena, right? Now, during this episode of Raw, which I'm going to start talking about right now, right? Which I kind of already am talking about it, but, you know, let's just pretend I'm going to start right now. Never gonna keep me down and never keep me. There we go. You know what I'm saying? We got the intro and everything. You know, so in this episode, it started off with Edge cutting a promo, right? And automatically you felt the lack of an audience, right? So first of all, Edge comes out during his entrance and raises his hands and does his pose. Now this comes off as retarded when there's no crowd there, right? Now some of you might be thinking to yourselves, well, Hater, he's doing it for the fans at home. And I understand that, right? And of course the entrance is as much for the people at home as it is for the people in attendance. But the facts are what they are, right? When you do that, you have to have an audience. You have to have a reason to do it. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it just comes off as goofy. It's like Edge should take it more seriously. But he does his little thing. His pose is not over the top, so it's whatever. But it still felt weird. Then he comes out and cuts a promo. Now, why did he have to be in the ring to do this? This is the problem with this, right? It's like if you're there in attendance, they bring the wrestler out in the ring so you see them, right? So you see them and they might interact with you in one way or another. They might look at you. They might say, look at that fat ass in the front row. Or they might react to your cheers and boos. But in this case, nothing was served from Edge coming out to the ring. You know, as a matter of fact, some of the backstage segments that they had today didn't feel that different because they're backstage, right? So in my opinion, if I were booking the show, I would place an over-reliance on backstage segments. You know what I mean? That's the only way that this show could be palpable. Now, even then, it wouldn't be good because nobody really likes backstage segments, but it would seem more normal. You know what I mean? But anyways, Edge comes out and says he was going to retire again through Beth Phoenix, which was retarded because he's going to retire from one concerto. You know what I mean? Like, he just came back and that's going to put him out. Like, you came back to wrestling. You know what I'm saying? You're like, you get expected to get a concerto here and there in wrestling. So it was what it was. The promo wasn't bad, but because of the fact that there was no crowd, it just seemed goofy, right? And basically this finally officially sets up Orton versus Edge at WrestleMania, motherfucks, which will not happen anytime soon, in my opinion. Next up, we have Becky coming to the arena in daytime, right, with a truck, like a monster, not a monster truck, but like an 18-wheeler type, you know, of course, without the little back thing, right? But the truck said The Man on it, and it had Becky Lynch, like, decal, I think it's called decal, right? Whatever. It had Becky Lynch shit all over it, right? Now, obviously, this is garbage. It's cringy as shit. It's not good. It's retarded, right? But the facts are what they are. Becky Lynch didn't even get out of this truck, you know? A lot of people may have not noticed this, but the truck pulled up really close to the camera, and then Becky Lynch came around it. Because let's be real, this broad is not driving that monster of a truck, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, that was just an unnecessary little segment. But I guess in the context of you're not going to see much today, you might as well have that. I don't know, right? Then we had the Royal Rumble. They showed the Rumble again. Now, this actually was my favorite part of the show because I really enjoyed this Royal Rumble. I actually watched it again up until the part where Lesnar gets eliminated. You know, I pretty much watched the relevant part of the Rumble. Lesnar beats the shit out of everybody. Drew McIntyre eliminates him. You know, I saw that. That was good enough for me. I enjoyed it. So, and it was cool because there was a lot of good moments in there, you know. And when I first saw it in like a club type area, in like a bar type area. So the volume wasn't up very high, so I couldn't hear the announcers, right? And I didn't know that Booker T was one of the announcers. Booker T is such an underrated announcer, it ain't even funny, man. So he really brought some joy into my day from this shit, right? Then next up, we had the Undertaker and AJ Styles segment. Taker came out like almost in street clothes, right? he came out. This was good because imagine him coming out with this long ass entrance with like a hat and everything. You know, that would like be stupid, right? So he came out. There was like a desk set up to sign the contract. He was pissed. He broke the desk. Again, there's no logic in having a contract signing in a ring when there's no fans there, right? You justify it when there's fans there because you want the fans to see it, right? You want the fans, kind of like a UFC weigh-in, right? You have the weigh-in just so the fans can see, like, you know, the fighters kind of interacting with each other a few days before the fight. You know what I mean? So there you have it, right? Like, this had no purpose. But there's no contract there. Undertaker comes out. AJ Styles appears on the Titantron. Backstage segment with him, Gallows, and Anderson. He forces Gallows and Anderson to go down to the ring to get the contract signed. They come to the ring. The lights go off. Taker appears behind them. They turn around. He whoops their ass, signs the contract, sticks it in Carl Anderson's mouth. And that's that. The highlight of this was AJ Styles' promo, which is weird, but that's what it was, right? He was saying how, like, Undertaker's past his prime, all these other things that are true. And then he pretty much, I don't want to say buried Undertaker, but he made some good points. He's like, I mean, why do you keep showing up during WrestleMania season? You know what I mean? The only thing that was missing here was AJ Styles making a point as to, dude, why are you after me? You know what I'm saying? I know AJ Styles is the heel, so you can't make that point. But, like, that needs to be addressed. Like, why is he after them? Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is that guy after them? So, like, and like what did AJ Styles didn't do anything to Undertaker. You know, Undertaker came and ruined his to-wake trophy match and then interfered in his match with Aleister Black, right? So, AJ Styles, like, seems like the good guy in this, some bitch, you know what I'm saying? So there you have it. That happened. You know, nothing special here. It just further sets up the match, I guess. Whatever, right? Then we had an actual match. Rey Mysterio versus Andrade with Asuka on commentary. Now, I actually enjoyed Asuka on commentary. She was just yelling, like, nonsense things in Japanese and also saying, Andrade, like, once in a while, right? But for some reason, it was fun. You know what I mean? I think the reason why I enjoyed it was because for the longest time, you know, you present Asuka as this, like, first she's supposed to be this, like, you know, like, undefeatable beast from Japan, right? And then after that, she's, like, dancing and being goofy, and then she's a heel, and like, what the fuck is going on, right? I didn't really get that, but I really like this because it's outside of the box. You know what I mean? Like, they have Asuka, and they're like, yo, this is Asuka now. You know, she just screams randomly. I thought it was a nice little touch. It brought some life to the match, right? Because, like, she pretty much did the job of the fans in many ways, right? She just screamed and shouted, you know, to kind of, like, give off that excitement that the fans would give for a match, right? So it's not a coincidence that she came out in this match. She came out during a match. So there you have it, you know. After this, Becky comes out, an absolute waste of time. She just says, Shayna, I'm going to fight you at WrestleMania, basically. No one really cared. Then, obviously, we still have to wait for Stone Cold because it's 316 day. Now, this was just fantastic, man. This was fantastic because it was, in my opinion, the worst segment in the history of Raw. Now, I can't blame that on Stone Cold or anybody else. You know, I have to blame that on the some bitch called coronavirus. But let's be real, right? This was like a forced segment. They had no choice. You know what I'm saying? They announced 316 day, and there's only one 316 day. So they have to do it. You know what I mean? They have to do it. The entire point is that the fans go, they're like, holy shit. Like, there's some fans out there who are probably, like, let's say in their early 20s and didn't really grow up during, like, Stone Cold. You know what I'm saying? Or if they did, they grew up during, like, they were, like, really little when Stone Cold was, like, still wrestling, you know? So for them, it's like, holy shit, I get to see Stone Cold. You know what I mean? This is awesome, right? Or maybe some people that are in their 30s were like, man, I never got to see Stone Cold. I get to see Stone Cold. So, and nobody got to see Stone Cold, motherfuckers. He came out. It was just cringy, right? It was cringy because Stone Cold, if there's any wrestler that needs the crowd, it's Stone Cold. I mean, first of all, off the bat, right? The entrance music hits, the glass shatters, you know, that's when everyone loses their minds, right? That's like one of the biggest pops in wrestling history. But there was no pop. Stone Cold came out to no pop. The announcer announces him. He says, please welcome the best of all time, or whatever, Stone Cold. Please, who's going to welcome him, retard? There's no one there. Please welcome Stone Cold. There was no point in that. There should be no announcer when there's no one to announce to, you know? Obviously, King and Byron Saxton and the other guy know who Stone Cold is, right? So anyways, Stone Cold comes out and he pretty much cuts a promo on 316 day and says that 316 day is a day where you can beat the shit out of someone if you want. Like, you know, he just says like some Stone Cold shit, right? And Byron Saxton in the announce table, he he has cards, right, with like numbers on them, and he just gives Austin like a score on each line that he says. The only part of this that was kind of funny for a second was when Stone Cold says like, what did he say? Not give me a hell yeah. Maybe it was give me a hell yeah. But he basically did one of his catchphrases, right? And yeah, I think it was, he's like, give me a hell yeah. And then they pan to like just empty seats. And Stone Cold's like, I said, give me a hell yeah. And then again, empty seats. And then they introduced Byron to this segment. This ended as you would imagine. Eventually, Stone Cold calls Byron to the ring, gives him a beer, gives him a stunner. So I'm like, all right, finally this painful nonsense, it's over. But no, motherfucks. It wasn't over, man. It wasn't over. You know what I'm saying? Becky Lynch comes out with a cooler and more Broken Skull IPA, and she like drinks with Stone Cold, and Stone Cold says, Becky, last time you were in the ring, you gave Stone Cold a stunner. Now, I don't know if this is true, if I missed it somehow, but if in a WWE event, Becky Lynch performed the stunner on Stone Cold and somehow I missed it, then Stone Cold should never come back, because he is a cuck for letting that happen, right? In my opinion, he's already a cuck for letting this happen, right? I texted my friend. I was like, the only way that this segment gets better is if Stone Cold hits Becky Lynch with a stunner, which obviously we know that he won't, but that would have been great. So then eventually Stone Cold helps Byron up, humiliates him further by pouring a beer on his head, and gives him another stunner. Now, before we end this, I feel like I should make another video for you guys, because this just wasn't a good show. There was not much I could say, but before we end this, I just want to say one thing. And the one thing I want to say is this. If you think that after tonight, they're going to have WrestleMania at all, like in the next few weeks, you're out of your mind. It's not going to fucking happen. There's no way. Like, people are going to be pissed off about this show, rightfully so. There comes a point where you have to cut your losses. I hate to say it, because from a business perspective, it's not a good idea. But at the same time, it's like you have one bullet in your gun. WrestleMania, that's like 30-40% of your annual revenue, right? You have one bullet in your gun. You can't shoot it at an empty target, motherfuckers. You got to wait for the opportune moment. You got to wait until you're able to fill a 70,000 person stadium, right? Now, I understand they probably stand to lose a lot of money from not showing WrestleMania on the day that they're supposed to, because there's deals that they have in place with various networks around the world, pay-per-view, and of course, they don't want to lose subscribers, right? But, I mean, there's no way around it. The WWE stock is going to plummet. That's why this morning, anticipating that today, I thought they were going to announce it on Raw. So anticipating that, I shorted some of that shit. And hopefully tomorrow, it opens up at a dismal level and I make some good money, motherfuckers. But the point is what it is, right? You cannot have WrestleMania like this. Like, I am inclined to not watch. Now, obviously, I'm going to watch because I've watched every WrestleMania for like a long fucking time. But let's be real. Like, there is no point. There's no point in watching it if there's no crowd. Like, Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar will feel like Neville versus Austin Aries. It will feel like that. No one will care because no one will be there, motherfucks. Drew McIntyre will not have this moment in front of people, The people won't get to enjoy WrestleMania. That's another big one. There's people out there that might never get a chance again to see WrestleMania. And I think they should see it, So there you have it. I mean, I don't see a scenario where they go through with this, right? After they see that Raw has like dismal viewership, right? Maybe this Raw might do well, but like next week they're gonna do it again, like this probably. It's gonna have even worse ratings. So let's be real, like it's not gonna work, man. It's not gonna work. You know what I mean? So they need to figure something out immediately, and the only thing they can do is postpone it at this point. I was one of the people that thought that they should just get with it, just get on, just do it, fuck it. But let's be real. Now, the panic is real, motherfuckers. People are staying inside. I mean, if you're old, I get it. If you're young, you're not a retard, but, think it through, right? But it's like there are inevitable economic roadblocks now to having WrestleMania. The least of which is, of course, again, that travel ban, motherfuckers. All these international fans can't come. So, now, that's not a problem. It's a problem for them, and it's a problem for the wallet of Vince McMahon. But don't think that, like, in a 75,000 person stadium, if 37,500 of those people can't make it because they're from Europe, that doesn't matter. Those seats will be filled. They will resell those tickets, right? But the point is, it's just It's not going to have the same flair. It will go down as the worst WrestleMania of all time. So there's nothing gained here. There's nothing gained here at all. You know, it's honestly at this point it would be better for them to push it. And if people still don't want to do it, they just go do it in Saudi Arabia. I know it sounds fucked up, but I think they can make it work in Saudi Arabia because I think they're quarantined too. But they can work something out there. That's a big deal for Saudi Arabia. So that's what I'm saying, right? It's like you have to do something about it. Tampa got screwed. It is what it is. But let's be real, motherfuckers. It's not happening. It can't. It cannot happen. Right? No one will be put over like this. No one will go over. No one will feel like a champion. Everyone will feel like an ROH superstar. So there you go. Cuts. This is a curse and a blessing in disguise. Maybe this will just get WWE to really put the foot on the gas because this couldn't have come at a worse time for Vince McMahon. I mean, the XFL canceled their season. WWE is pretty much fucked for the short term. Their stock is going to keep dropping, I think. So we'll see. I mean, there's obviously they're going to come back from this, but this is probably the worst they've ever been in a business sense. So there you have it, motherfucks. This has been your Monday night kind of review. And maybe I'll do another video. I don't know what to do a video on though, you know what I'm saying? So maybe I'll think and do something, but if not, I'll probably do one tomorrow up in this bitch. All right, cuts. See you guys later up in this bitch.